Time for another 2019 college football team game-by-game season preview and prediction. And today, 2 for 1? 2 for 1 special today. 2 teams, 1 video. Let's go. That's right, App State and Marshall up today. 2 lower classification schools, right? These aren't Power 5 schools, but they were suggested over on the Patreon page. And when I was looking this stuff up this morning, I realized I forgot to thank the Patreon members over the last 3 or 4 videos, specifically by name, the ones who suggested those particular videos. So here you go, up on the screen right now. Here's the last 3 or 4 videos that I forgot to mention on video. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the preview that I did for the team that you wanted to see. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the previews that we have coming up until the start of the college football season, which this year is on August 24th. All right, let's start out with App State, right? I spent a lot of time in the FCS, been in the FBS for a while now, and consistently one of the better teams in the FBS. Yet to have a season like UCF has had, yet to really even have a season close to what Boise State had several years ago when they were on their run with Chris Peterson. But nevertheless, considering the fact that they've only been in the FBS for a handful of years now, they've had some pretty good seasons, right? Last year, they were 11-2 overall, 8-1 in the conference. They won their last 6 games of the year, which included, of course, the Sun Belt Conference Championship game and their bowl game, the R&L Carriers Bowl. We need more bowl games, don't we? Yeah, we do. They beat MTSU, Middle Tennessee State. Might have been the best team in the state of Tennessee last year, so App State might be Tennessee State champions. The only 2 losses you had, you took a loss to Penn State real early in the season. That was an overtime loss. You really outplayed them. It reminded me and a lot of other people really about the game you had with Tennessee back from, I think it was the 2016 season, when you sort of outplayed them too, took it to overtime, and then you had that fumble there at the goal line, and it kind of cost you the game. But anyway, and then you lost to Georgia Southern a little later in the season, 34-13. Now, Georgia Southern, they weren't a bad team either. They went 10-3. The only thing really surprising, maybe a little surprising, you lost by 20. But not really embarrassing to lose to Georgia Southern last year. They were a pretty good team. A lot of changes this year at App State, though, when you look forward to 2019, right? Can they continue the success they've had the last few years under head coach Satterfield? We'll see. He's gone, right? He gets the job at Louisville. Man, talk about a blessing and a curse, right? If you're this guy. Scott, I think it's his first name, Satterfield. You work hard at App State. You put a bunch of good seasons together. You win some conference titles. You win some bowl games. You start thinking, I know this phone's going to start ringing for Power 5 any minute now. Indeed, it does start ringing. You pick it up. Good morning. Scott Satterfield here, head coach App State. What can I do for you? Hey, this is the administration type people over at Louisville. Yeah. Is there a worse Power 5 job to take right now than Louisville? Maybe put Tennessee on the list. I don't know. Point is, congratulations to the guy who gets a Power 5 job. That is an upgrade, I guess, over App State. But it's going to take some serious work to get Louisville turned around. Louisville has not been a very good team outside of Lamar Jackson in a while, really. Even with Lamar Jackson, I think the best they could get to was 8 or 9 wins, right? That was a Heisman winning quarterback, sort of a generational player there. Historically bad the last couple of seasons, Louisville has been. Just hard to understand, really, how they sunk that low. So he's got a huge rebuilding job to undertake at Louisville. We'll see how he can do, right? Drinkwich takes over at App State, though. I almost turned this into a Louisville video, didn't I? That would be a waste of time, though. So anyway, Drinkwich takes over as head coach at App State, right? He's a former offensive coordinator for over at N-State. NC State. And this is going to be a big change from what App State fans are used to seeing, right? Scott Satterfield likes to play really good defense and run the ball. Drinkwitz likes to air the ball out. He's been like his last couple of years at NC State. NC State was like top 20 in the nation in pass attempts per game. So they like to air it out. We'll see if that's sort of a change he tries to make year one, or if it's something he sort of tries to ease into given the talent that's available on the App State roster right now. Speaking of talent on the App State roster, you return 9 starters off that offense that went 11-2 last year, winning the conference. So the offense has a ton of talent returning. 7 of those 9 starters are all Sun Belt players. So just a loaded all-star team within the Sun Belt there. We'll see. Like I said, a lot of those players that offense was built to run the ball. We'll see what this head coach is going to do, if he's going to try to change that up any. Defensively, not quite. The news isn't quite as positive. 6 starters returned, though, off of that defense. So it's not like you're totally starting over there either. New defensive coordinator, Ted Roof. So we'll see. Can App State repeat the success they've had the last couple of years, and can they do it immediately, year one, under new head coach Drinkwitz, or is it going to take a year or two to sort of install this new offense? Let's put the schedule up on the screen. We'll take a look at it and see what they can do this year. ETSU, Eastern Tennessee, win. Charlotte, win. I don't think you're going to lose those 2 games. Charlotte especially is one of the worst teams in their conference. ETSU, not a terrible team, but they're not on an App State level. You should win that game, both of those games, fairly easily. That takes you into your first bye week. All right, you come out of that and the games get a little more difficult. You go on the road against a Power 5 team, North Carolina. North Carolina, not a very good Power 5 team last year. They have coaching changes too, of course, bringing Mack Brown back. He was at North Carolina a long time ago. And then, of course, everyone probably remembers spent a bunch of years at Texas, winning a national title back in, was it 04, 05 with Vince Young? And then he's been in the broadcast booth for several years since then. North Carolina brings him back to try to revive that program. I don't think North Carolina's an elite ACC team or Power 5 team or anything like that. App State has struggled against Power 5 teams. Everybody loves to point out the Michigan win back in 2007. That was the last Power 5 win they had. Brand new head coach this year for App State. Yes, I know North Carolina that good, but you got to play them there. I'm going to give the Power 5 the benefit of the doubt here. It's nothing against App State. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't be shocked if App State won this game at all. But I'm going to give you a loss here and go with North Carolina. That puts you at 2-1. You turn around the following week and you get Coastal Carolina. If this was baseball, you'd be in trouble, but it's not. It's football, so no trouble at all. You'll win that game without a problem. You're sitting at 3-1 heading into now your second bye week. Come out of that and you play, what is this? Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Whee! Now, they're good. They're a good team. Most people have them as the favorite. Or maybe the second place team out of their division in that conference. You got to play them there on the road. I think they beat you. I think you catch a second loss there. Come back home, you play Louisiana Monroe, ULM. You'll get a win there. Road game here before you start a couple of difficult games. You go on the road to South Alabama. They're basically in the Coastal Carolina category. They're just not that good of a program right now. You'll beat them even though it's on the road. These two... 3 road games in a row, actually. If you can go 2-1 in these 3 road games, I think that would be a minor miracle. I don't see it happening. I think you go 1-2 in these 3 road games. I think Georgia Southern gets you again. No, you get them at home. I'm sorry. You get them at home, but I still think they beat you. And then you have 2 road games at South Carolina, at Georgia State. You'll split there. I think South Carolina will beat you. Potential to be the funniest loss of the season, though, if South Carolina somehow loses that game. South Carolina's schedule this year is absolutely brutal. If for some reason they have thrown the towel in or something at this point in the season and you can find a way to go to Columbia and get a win over the Shame Chickens, Uncle Lou will be laughing for a while. Yes, I will record it and upload it. But I've got to give the Gamecocks the win there. Then you go on the road to Georgia State. I don't think they're as good as even as they have been over the last couple of years coming up in 2019. I think this could be a difficult year for Georgia State. I have you winning there. And then you come back home, play Texas State, win. I guess that game sort of concerns me a little. Troy the next week, too, could be a difficult game. Another team that's sort of breaking in a new coaching staff. Their head coach has gone to West Virginia. Boy, he got the better of those 2 jobs, didn't he, between him and between him and Satterfield. Louisville or West Virginia? Yeah, West Virginia. Anyway, at Troy, I gave you the win. So overall, that puts you at 9-3 for the regular season, which in my opinion is going to be good enough to win your division and put you back in the conference title game again, where I have a feeling you'll probably win it. Even if your offense has a little bit of growing pains early in the season here, sort of transitioning from that run-heavy offense you had under the previous coaching staff to the new sort of more spread-out passing attack that Drinkwitz is going to want to do. I think you'll be fine by the end of the season. You would probably be my pick at this point to win this conference title game. All right, now on to Marshall. We are Marshall. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. If you're a college football fan, you should make a list of all of these college football movies, and you should just start ticking them off. You won't regret it. And We Are Marshall is one of those movies that definitely needs to be on that list. All right, how'd you do last year? Well, you went 9-4. You would have had 14 games, but of course you had South Carolina on the schedule. That game got canceled when that hurricane came through. So you finished up at 9-4. Your losses were to NC State. Nothing to be ashamed about there, losing to playing up to a Power 5 team and losing. You also lost to Virginia Tech, not a very good Power 5 team, but still a Power 5 team. You lost to them. You lost to Middle Tennessee State, and you lost to Southern Miss. MTSU and Southern Miss were pretty good teams last year. There isn't really an embarrassing loss on that list. No one likes losing 4 games. I get it, but there's no really loss here where you look at and scratch your head and go, I cannot believe we lost that game. 9-4, pretty good season. Good. There's not really a dominant team in Conference USA anymore. I'm not sure what happened. You ended up making the Gasparilla Bowl, right? You beat South Florida. That might have been your best win of the season. South Florida been a pretty good team over the last couple of years. You beat them in whatever the Gasparilla Bowl is. No one knows. I even asked Siri, Google, and I even asked my Amazon Echo. No one knew. Yep. But you did beat them. Now, offense. Most of your offensive line returns. Listen, no one ever likes to talk about offensive lines. It's boring. Unless you're a really big X's and O's guy, or maybe you have a coaching background or something, most people, even when they watch college football games on TV, they're not paying any attention at all to the offensive line unless the quarterback drops back to pass and has no time to throw the ball and get sacked, and then they're yelling about the offensive line. The offensive line is boring. It's not exciting. I get all that. But offensive line is so important. And chemistry and cohesion along an offensive line, obviously you need talent too. Anytime you have most of your offensive line returning from the year before, even if the offensive line wasn't all that good the year before, there's reason for optimism, right? The players can get better. They're at least used to playing together already. They have experience. That's the case for you. Most of your offensive line returns. You got 2 really good running backs that are returning, King and what's the other guy's name? Drawing a blank on the other guy's name, but you got 2 really good running backs. Your quarterback is back, Green, right? Conference USA all freshman team. Your top wide receiver is gone, so you got to find a replacement for him, but it's not like you don't have any experience at the wide receiver position. You just need to find a new guy to fill in that number 1 role. I don't see any reason why you can't do that. Your offense is in pretty good shape heading into 2019. Now, on defense, the glass not quite as full. You lose a lot of what was a pretty talented front 7 last year defensively for you. You got to find replacements for that. Now, you get this Ty Tyler transferred in as a defensive tackle, right? He's pretty good. He'll play out on the edge, I guess. Wouldn't surprise me to see him get a lot of playing time even early in the season. The strength of your team is probably your secondary. You return about half your secondary, and the half that returns is pretty good. And even the ones that didn't start last year got a lot of playing time and looked pretty good when they played. I think the secondary will be probably the best level of your defense. And your linebackers, you got a ton of experience there. It's hard to pick or point at one particular linebacker and go, that's the leader of the defense or that's the star of the team or whatever. But you got a lot of experience there. And again, that's a good thing. A secondary, you got Jackson, is that his name? 4-year starter. So, I mean, anytime you've had a guy starting basically since he stepped foot on campus, chances are you have a pretty good player. This will be his 4th year as a starter here. But All right, let's put the schedule up on the screen. We'll take a look at it, go through it game by game, and we'll see if you can get past that 9 wins you hit last year. You start the season at home against VMI. Salute to all the military academies. Isn't that what this is? Virginia Military Academy, I think. If I'm wrong, someone will point it out in the comment section. That's people's favorite thing to do, is point things out in the comment section that I was wrong about. But you'll get a win there. You start 1-0. On the road at Boise State, loss. I got no hate for Marshall here. Again, I'll mention the same thing I say, just to be honest with you guys, that I say when I talk about West Virginia. I've got some in-laws and stuff that are from West Virginia. They still have some family that live in West Virginia. They go back to West Virginia a lot. They like West Virginia Mountaineers football. They like Marshall football. I got no hate for Marshall. Boise State is just one of the best group of 5 teams in America, year in and year out, especially this year. I just can't see you going, all the way out there and winning. I got to give Boise State the win. You're 1-1. Come back home, you play Ohio. Not the Ohio, just an Ohio. You'll get a win there. That takes you into your first bye week. Come out of that, you got to play Cincinnati at home. You get them at home. If you're a little bit better than what I think you'll be, and Cincinnati isn't quite as good as I think they'll be, because this game's at home for you, I could see some potential for you getting an upset and winning that game. However, I'm a believer in Cincinnati this year. I think they're one of the best 4 or 5 group of 5 teams in America this year. I've got you dropping that game at home to Cincinnati. You're sitting at 2-2. On the road at Middle Tennessee State, I think you'll win that game. Middle Tennessee State is a team that has been pretty good some years, not so good some years. I think we're looking at them this year as a not so good compared to what maybe the good years look like there. I don't think they're as good as you this year. I think you go on the road and get a fairly easy win there at MTSU. Come back home, play Old Dominion. Unless you come out of the tunnel wearing Virginia Tech hats, you should win this game without a problem. I have you doing that. You win. You're sitting at 4-2 about halfway through your season. On the road at FAU, loss. I do think FAU is going to have a pretty good team this year in this conference here. Some people have them picked to win that side of the division. I'm not so sure about that. But you got to play them there. I think this has potential to be a really good game. They're the home team, though, so I'm going to go with them and give you your 3rd loss of the season. You come back home, you play WKU, that's Western Kentucky, right? I think you beat them. Now, there's been some years, 2014, 15, 16, that time frame there when Western Kentucky was one of these teams, one of the best offenses in America, scoring 50, 60 points a game. The days are gone. They won't be scoring that many points this year, especially not against you. You get a win. All right, then on the road at Rice, they're one of the worst teams in that conference. You'll get a win. Doesn't matter that you have to travel all the way out there. Let's be real. You could travel to the moon and play. Wouldn't matter. You'd still beat them. Second bye week comes after that, and then you finish out your season with 2 home games and a road game sandwiched in between. At home, you get Louisiana Tech. I think they may be the best team in that conference this year. I have you losing that game even though it's at home. But again, like the Cincinnati game, I think the Cincinnati game and the Louisiana Tech game, and I have you losing both of them. It's possible you split there. If you somehow went 2-0 in those 2 games, you could be set up for one of the best seasons you've had in a long, long time. But I've got you losing right now. On the road at Charlotte, they're terrible. I talked about them when I talked about App State a few minutes ago. They're just a terrible football team. You will win big. And then FIU, the weaker of the 2 between FIU and FAU is FIU. You finish up the season with a win at home over FIU. Probably, maybe, it's likely you win that division. We'll see. But that puts you with how many games did you lose? 4. So that puts you at 8-4. So I think that's kind of borderline. But again, like I mentioned at the top of this segment here, talking about Marshall, there's not really a dominant team in Conference USA right now. There's just not. So the Conference USA could be like a Big Ten West type scenario from last year where a 7-8 win team could win the division. Or Pittsburgh winning their division in the ACC last year at, 7-5. 8-4 could be good enough to win this division, especially if you beat the teams that are right there with you, because you could come down to a tiebreaker situation. But you got a good chance to win your division. I have you at 8-4 for the regular season in 2019. All right, that's it for App State and Marshall. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did those a little bit quicker than I do some of the other videos. And these are lower classification teams. It just really doesn't make sense to spend 30 minutes on each team like that, in my opinion. So anyway, I hope that was okay with you that I did that. I hope you enjoyed the video. I appreciate you guys watching, and have a great morning.